Hi. In today's conversation, I'd like to share a little bit about in-interview tests, which are tests and assessments for medical writers which are given within an interview. These can last somewhere between 45 and 90 minutes, and the way it works is you first go in for a site interview, you have a few conversations, perhaps one or two conversations, and then there's a testing round or an assessment round where you take a medical writing assessment and then follow up with perhaps one or two conversations. I haven't had an opportunity to take an in-interview test in my career. However, I did get a chance to reach out to a few medical writers who have, and they responded. So I'm relying quite heavily in today's conversation to convey the information that has been relayed to me. So I'm very grateful to have received that information, and I'm happy to share this with you. So here are a few points which might be of interest for you to know about in-interview tests. The first is that most tests are designed to test our ability to extract key information, key facts, and key take-home messages from an article. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. The second is one of the things which are really being tested is our ability to focus on an audience and our ability to write exactly for that audience. How often do we begin by writing something and then suddenly forget who we're writing for? For instance, we begin by writing for other scientists and suddenly we're writing for healthcare providers in the second paragraph, and all of a sudden we include some very general knowledge language in there and we start writing for a general audience and all of a sudden switch back to a scientific audience toward the end. So this kind of switching is something which is not recommended, which is not something we're supposed to do in medical writing. So having a clear understanding of the audience and writing specifically for that audience is something which is being tested. That's the second point. The third is a few things that they look for within the writing test. First is to see if we can provide a little bit about the background, of the literature. For instance, if we are presented with a piece on prostate cancer, for instance, the opening of the article could be one or maximum two sentences about the background as an incidence or why it's relevant to research that field. Likewise, if we get something on hemophilia, blood disorders, factor 8, and so on, one or two sentences at the most on why that area of research is important and why it needs to be looked at further. So providing a little bit of context and background before zooming into the data and the science is something which definitely helps in helping us come across as good writers who can write on our feet and who can write quickly. The second point which is looked at is length. Length is a very strict consideration, and one of the interesting pieces of advice which I've received from people who have taken the in-interview test is you don't have to absolutely meet the length requirement. If you're a few words shy or perhaps a one sentence shy of where you'd like to be, that's fine. If the instruction says you need to write something which is 300 words in length or perhaps 500 words in length, if you are, let's say, 5% shy of that number, it's fine, it's okay. One sentence, one extra sentence written in haste could imbalance the rest of the write-up. If you can make a point in fewer sentences, fewer words, there is no need to stretch it further just in order to meet that requirement. So keep the word limit in mind, but you don't absolutely have to meet that limit so long as you don't exceed that limit. And the third point is give yourself time to edit. When you realize that you have maybe 5 to 7 minutes remaining at the end, instead of using that time to crunch a little bit more, and instead of using that time to pack a little bit more into your article, use that time to edit for clarity, consistency, and completeness. So think about that. Think about the value of preparing yourself mentally for an in-interview test, and all the best.